Everyone. So in this video, we are going to learn how to identify the UI elements. So identifying UI elements is also very important. So yeah, so we have to master on this. Okay. So we can identify the UI elements in two ways. So one of them is using the XPath, the other one is using CSS. So, what is the difference between these two? So, in XPath, we'll identify an element by following the DOM structure, the top-down hierarchy. So first we'll go with like this, like we'll first identify the root element, the root tag, and we'll identify the child tag, and so on. We'll traverse over the hierarchy and we'll find out the requirement element, right? And in CSS, it is purely based on CSS selector, and we'll learn these two in the upcoming sections. Okay, so there is a question. So for an automation engineer or who are like this starting, right, the career into this. So when to use the CSS or when to use the XPath? So there is uh, a logic, right? I mean, what I suggest is try to find out the element uniquely with CSS. Say suppose using an ID or class, first try with CSS. If you're not able to find a unique element through CSS, you can go with the XPath. And if you see the advantage or disadvantage of XPath or CSS, right? So in CSS, the performance will be good, and coming to XPath, it will take a bit long time to traverse over the tree DOM and then find the required element. So comparatively, the CSS performs well and better than the XPath. Okay, so that is one advantage of CSS, and there is a disadvantage of XPath. So if you have this created XPath on one particular browser, that may not work in the other browser. So suppose you have created XPath in Chrome, that may not work in IE. So that is, those limitations are there. So we need to use this appropriately by keeping this in mind. Okay. So in the next section, I will be covering a good number of example on CSS and XPath. But yeah, if you want to try out more, if you want to get more expertise, then you can visit this URL, Rosetta Stone. So we have a cheat sheet. So in this cheat sheet, you will get all the combinations and of CSS and XPath. So definitely you will get a lot of exposure there, because I have referred this doc during my initial days, and I have got benefited from this. Okay, yeah, we'll move on. Okay, so the most common way, the most common ways that we use in a day-to-day work. So, if you see XPath and CSS, you can identify an element using different ways in XPath and even CSS. So, we'll be covering a few ways which we are using this in our day-to-day life in a vast manner, right? So, those examples will cover. Okay. So, before we go to the examples, uh, how you're going to construct this locator, either you are going to construct it manually or you're going to use any tool. See, you can construct your XPath or CSS, or you can say your locators manually and using a tool, but I recommend we have to construct this XPath or CSS manually. You will get an exposure, and it will be most reliable. Your XPath or CSS won't break. So you know, like what exactly the DOM is, and what will make that XPath so form. So in that way you can actually create your XPath or CSS. So there are couple of add-ons and tools available in the market, but yeah, it is recommended to create these locators manually as per my view. Yeah, you can still use tools, but yeah, if you get habituated with this, right, constructing the locators manually, that will definitely will help you in future, and you will get like a lot of expertise on this, and we need this for sure during our test automation. Okay, yeah, we'll move on. So for the so I have designed a sample HTML code just for the reference purpose, and so that it will be easier for for you people to understand. Okay, so this is sample HTML code where you have HTML tag, and you have head section, you have body, and let me just slightly, I will try to, yeah, no, no issues. Okay, so this is the HTML sample HTML code where you have a body, and another you have some HTML content. So we'll use this HTML code, and we'll try to identify XPath. uh, yeah, so we'll go with the first example. Maybe you'll be getting more context from this here. So suppose, yeah, before we go to this examples, sorry, I want to just explain like what all different types of XPaths are available. So there are two types of XPath available. One is the absolute path and the relative path. Okay, so absolute path, what it does. So suppose you want to identify an H1 element, right? H1 HTML element. You want to locate this element. So what is that hierarchy? So the root tag is HTML. Under the root tag you have a body tag, and another body tag you have div, and under div you have H1 element, right? This is the absolute path. So the complete path which will reach you to that required element is nothing but the absolute path, and the relative path is nothing but, yeah, it's a shortcut, kind of shortcut. No need to traverse over the all the nodes, parent nodes. Okay, so the effective way would be the relative path. So we are going to discuss all these examples using the relative XPath. Okay, yeah, we'll go with the first example. So the first example, I'm going to identify the H1 element. Okay, so this double slash is nothing but the relative path. So I'm saying double slash H1. That means, so, and this H1 will be the unique element in the whole HTML content, as we know. So I'm trying to identify this element, and this is what actually the XPath looks like. So double slash H1, this is the relative path, and the H1 is the only element in the whole HTML content. So it will return this H1 element. Okay, so coming to the second example. So we can also identify the XPath using the tag attribute value. Okay, so in our case I have taken a tag, div tag, which has two attributes, ID and class. Okay, and I want to identify this element using the class. So this is how the XPath looks like. So double slash is the relative path, and the tag name is div @ attribute value. It can be any attribute, not only the class. If suppose you have a name attribute, you can just give the attribute name as name and the value. So this holds this syntax holds for all attribute values if you want to identify an element, right? So in our case, we are actually identifying this element using the class attribute value, right? So this will return the div tag. Yeah, and coming to the next example, we can identify an element using a text, the HTML text embedded within the two tags. Say suppose in our HTML code, sample HTML code, we have a list tag which has embedded text apple, right? So we want to identify this element, okay, using its text. So this is the what you call the XPath. So double slash relative path, the tag name text is a function which call and to pass the text of the text which is embedded between the tags. So So this is how it will work. And this is another way to identify the element using text by using the normalized space function. So when we need to use this one? Say suppose by mistake, if your UI developer uh, has left a space at the beginning or at the end. Okay, so that case your this XPath won't work. So you need to trim these two spaces. It can be one space or more than one space. Okay, so in this case you need to use normalized space. Okay, so this will first trim the beginning and end space, and it will return the element. So sorry, it will return the tag. Yeah. Okay, so coming to the next example, we can identify an XPath using the indexing. Okay, for example, you have a unordered list tag. Okay, and under this tag you want to identify the list tag. Okay, and so this is the first occurrence, right? So you are mentioning in this way ul li 1, but here you have multiple unordered lists. So that case you can still qualify this saying that ul at the rate class equal to a1. So this will give you the first list element under the unordered list, this unordered list. So if you're not providing this, so it will return two elements, an array of elements. So it's better to qualify, I mean you should make your XPath more specific so that it will return the unique element. So in that way you need to design your XPath. Okay, that is very much important. Yeah, coming to the next example. So you can also use and or condition in your XPath. Okay, so if you want to identify an element using two attribute values, so you can also have those conditions. Yeah, and the other one is using contain starts with and ends with in XPath. So how it works, I'll tell you. So first of all, I'll take an example. Yeah, so if you take it will take the h1 element, right? So the h1 element contains it contains an embedded text, right? Yeah, this is the whole text of it. So what if you want to identify the h1 element which contains the welcome string? So this is what the syntax, or you can say the XPath looks like. So the tag name contains dot means the text, and the string with which you want to identify. So under the h1 so in the h1 tag, if you have a text and if the text contain welcome string, then it will return that h1 tag. So that's how it will work. You can also identify a UI element using the attribute values with some partial text. Means it starts with so and so text and it ends with so and so attribute value, right? So in our case, if you see this, right? Yeah, so you have an input tag here, right? So in this input tag you have a class, and you have another input tag, you have a class. So both the input have class and have the same CSS. Okay, so what if I want to identify this input tag with the attribute value? Yeah, of course this will work. The tag name at the rate attribute value and the attribute name and attribute value, sorry. Yeah, but what if I want to, sorry, one second. Yeah, this whole goods for, like, if you want to identify this input element, sorry, this input element, just hold on. I think it should be 2. Yeah, so this is for like identify an HTML element using its attribute value. Okay, and coming to the content starts with the ends with, right? Maybe I have missed the example. Okay, so I want to identify this input tag, and which contains the attribute value should start with CSS, right? So the HTML tag name is input, and I'll say starts with, okay, and I'll pass, yeah, it should start with uh, yeah, the attribute value is class, okay, and it should start with CSS. So what this will do, just a second, yeah, so this will return the input tag whose class attribute value start with CSS. Similarly, you can use the ends with and contents as well, right? So all these are covered. So not only the entire text, but also the parts with partial text also you can identify UI element. Okay, so just want to repeat this section again. Okay, so this is the, yeah, so this is the, if you want to verify an element with the complete attribute value, you can use this. And if you want to identify the attribute value with some partial text starts with or ends with, you can use the syntax. Yeah, for ends with you have to use the ends with function. And if you want to verify a particular element, text should contain so and so, so you can use this kind of XPath, where you need to pass the partial text which contains within that what you call the tag. Okay, so in that way actually you can write your XPaths. Okay, we'll go to the next important example. Okay, so just observe this HTML code. So in this you have an ordered list, two unordered list, and you have lists. Okay, so I have a requirement, and the requirement is I want a list element whose preceding elements, I want the list of preceding elements that is following this element. Okay, this elements preceding elements, the list of elements. Okay, in that case I can get that as well. So for that, actually, yeah, I'm giving you this example. Okay, so here if you see, the list element contains the text onion, and whose preceding element should be li. So these two are the this is the syntax. Actually we need to follow this strictly. And so here the tag is li. So what this will do, so it will return all those li's. So the li's under its parents, and also the same level list tags. Okay, and what if I give preceding sibling? So this will give only its preceding siblings, the preceding sibling of the this list. Okay, so this is the basic difference between preceding and preceding sibling. The same case with the following and following sibling, right? You take this example, right? So I want all the list tag within this, whose level is same to this list tag. So suppose I am identifying this list tag in this way, list text apple. Okay, this will be returned, and under this I want, so the same level all the list tags, so all this will be written. Okay, and yeah, when it comes to following sibling, so if I say I want to identify all the elements that is for all the siblings that is following uh, this element. So that will look like this. First of all, I am identifying this element for, and I want all the following siblings of, yeah, so this will be written. Okay, so this is how you can actually write your XPath effectively. Okay, so yeah, so we have covered the most of the cases, right? Okay, maybe if you want to know more and if you want to like try out more examples, you can refer to that document which I have shown you in the above page. Yeah, here. Yeah, and you can try out more examples. And yeah, so this concludes uh, the XPath examples for this video. And coming to CSS selectors, right? Almost similar kind of examples we can try in CSS. Okay, so as I said, like CSS is comparatively faster than the XPath. Okay, and it will, the processing time is much faster than XPath, because in XPath it has to travel from top down finding the element. Yeah, so in CSS it is CSS selector which will actually return the required element. Okay, so so suppose have taken the same HTML code, and now I will try to identify element using CSS. Just observe closely. So uh, I want to locate this element. Just pass the tag name. Okay. So so yeah, the next, it is very simple. So and then in the next example, I want to locate an element using the attribute value. So suppose I have taken this. I want this tag, div tag. Okay, using the attribute which contain the attribute value x1. So this is the syntax. At the tag name, attribute value equal to, and the, sorry, attribute name and attribute value. So if you see, there is a slight difference, right? And in XPath you see double slash, that which is the relative path, and at the rate symbol. So there is slight difference in the syntax. Okay, so this applies to other attribute values as well. So if you want to identify the div tag with the class, just give the attribute name of class and its value. Or if some other attribute name is there and you want to identify the tag with that name, yeah, you can use that as well. This is the syntax actually. Okay, the attribute name, sorry, the tag name, attribute name, and the attribute value. Okay, the next example. So if you want to identify element using its ID, okay, so as I said, like the first preference we should give locating the element using the ID or class or any other CS through any other CSS selector. If nothing works, then go for XPath. Okay, yeah. So this is the time where we want to discuss how to write CSS selector for a HTML element containing an ID. So if you see here, there is a tag called div and has an ID. So this is syntax: tag name, hash, and the ID value. So this will return you the div tag. Okay, let's go to next one. So in this example, we need to know, like, if you have, so what's cascading style sheet? So cascading style sheet is something for a HTML tag. If you want to impose some properties, like if you want to change the look and feel of the text or the page, you can impose some CSS to that text or to the file. Okay, so those files can be embedded into an HTML tag using the class attribute. Okay, so in our case, we are assuming that this div tag contains a class cascading style sheet which is embedded to this div tag, which is CSS1. We need to identify this tag. Okay, so this is syntax: div dot is for class and hash is for ID. Okay, We can also use multiple attributes for a tag. Okay, the same tag can be written by passing the multiple attribute values as a condition. Yeah, yeah. And the next one, as we discussed in the XPath, right? If you want to locate an element whose attribute value starts with, ends with, contains, we have functions there. So for CSS, what we need to use? So I will take an example. Within this HTML, if you see the UL tag, right? The unordered list tag. The class attribute value is A1 here and A2 here. Okay. Say suppose I want all the unordered list whose class attribute value start with A. So this is a tag. This is the syntax, sorry. So this is the tag name, that the attribute name. This is the starts with, cap symbol is for starts with, and the value which should start with. Okay, so this will return the two elements, both the UL elements. Okay, and what if I want to locate an element whose attribute value end with something? So this is syntax: the tag name, the attribute value, dollar symbol means ends with this string. Okay, what if my attribute, if I want to locate an element which where my attribute value contains so and so. Okay, so this is the syntax: the tag name, attribute value, star means contains, yeah, and the value. So this is how actually you will identify the UI element using CSS. And there is one more example. Yeah, so we have seen in XPath we can identify element using the indexing, right? The first element, we are mentioning that the first element should be written, second element should be written right here. Yeah, here, using the indexing, right? The same thing we can do it in CSS. For example, I want to retrieve this HTML element, okay, which is under this unordered list. So this is how the XPath will look: ul dot a2, that means unordered list tag which has the class attribute as a2, and this symbol says that it's an immediate child, which is nothing but, there are a lot of immediate child, right? Lot of list tag and this is unordered list. So in this, which child you want? N child of 1. Yeah, so this will return this particular element. So this is how you can identify CSS using the indexing. Okay, so we have covered pretty much a good number of example. Yeah, but if you want to try more, as I said, you have to spend some time, know what is the syntax, know how to construct this XPath or CSS manually. I have given a good number of example. With this, maybe some 60 to 50% XPath or CSS got covered. You can still explore more. Take a sample website, go to its HTML, go to developer tools and try to find out few elements. Try all these things in that website and get habituated to it. Okay, so we should master on it. We should master on how to create a locator manually. So that's how our first priority should be. Okay, and that is very much needed for an automation tester. Okay, yeah, I think this sums up. Yeah, this is how the XPath and CSS will work, and we have discussed good number of examples, and I hope like this content will help you in mastering on this. Okay, and in next video we'll start with a very important topic, Java. Yep. Okay, and hope this helps. Signing off. Bye.